critical look into Nigeria's power sector. Since the unbundling of NEPA on 1st of November 2013, the power sector has imploded. We have been plunging in darkness, regardless of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's promise to give us 24 hours light, and not to talk about $7.5 billion that has been invested into the power sector in the past 10 years. Yet, we are living without light. So this is the focus of this edition of The Talking Point. My name is Nigerian Suleiman. You are welcome.
And I am Billy Graham Nebel. You're welcome to this episode of The Talking Point. Like my colleague just said, we are looking at the Nigerian power sector. It's been years and years and years, and we've been on a downward spiral. And it's like a child that was sent to school and keep coming back with carryovers all over the semesters. But I think in order to discuss this very particular important issue in the country, we have two important guests and gentlemen in the studio. Please kindly introduce yourself. You are I'm
Gentlemen, you are welcome to Talking Point. Like you heard the discussion of the day, we're going to be dissecting the Nigerian power sector. But before we do that, some news have been making headlines recently, talking about the intention of the federal government to borrow about 20 trillion naira, yes, that's the amount exactly, from pensions fund, which is quite against the pension reform 2014. Mr. Shalongo, what do you have to say about that? Is it okay?
Certainly not. It is not okay, and these are people's savings. You know, all Nigerians that have worked for, you know, a number of years, exactly, a lot of them leave work with. Certainly not. Certainly not. It is not okay, and these are people's savings. You know, all Nigerians that have worked for, you know, a number of years, exactly, a lot of them leave work with hardly nothing outside these pension savings that they have. So government has many ways that it can raise funds for its infrastructural development. I don't think that borrowing money from pension fund is an option at all, not for me. Government has many ways that it can raise funds for its infrastructural development. I don't think that borrowing money from pension fund is an option at all, not for me.
Areas being looked into the pensions, and then the Nigerian Sovereign Wealth Investment Agency. You know, so it's not. I mean, a sizable chunk of perhaps those infrastructure funds may be pulled off from the pension funds. But I know to do that, the government may just have to ask for amendment of the laws setting up the pension funds. But I do not think that it will act, you know, in contravention, you know, of the laws.
There was an attempt during the Buhari era to borrow from the pension fund, and the Nigerian labor kicked against it. It's like I saved my money. You know, go and get your money somewhere else and develop it. And you know, they are all members of the police. These people have sacked. So why are we trying to carry from what they have to build?
You know what actually baffled my mind, sorry Mr. B, I didn't cut you, that was the line that I quoted verbatim, Mr. Wale said, the Minister for Finance. He said that when they get this money, it's going to attract foreign investment. Now I begin to wonder, as a Nigerian, the investment, who is it meant for? Who is it meant for? Why would you have to get someone else's saving, like Mr. Bidi said, and then to say you want to attract foreign investors? And I think it is in the same light, Mr. B, that the cybersecurity levy, the 5.5% security levy came up, and then there was a lot of kicking. What is going on with Nigerian reform under Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
I think someone jokingly said there was a cartoon that showed that a woman was breastfeeding a baby, and then they say the government want to tax
for
breastfeeding a baby. I think it's becoming a habit now to just tax Nigerians. Look, taxation is good. Government has to raise money every time, but it has to be in a country where people see the value for which their taxes it's transforming the country, transforming the economy, improving their quality of life. When you don't see those things, taxation becomes very, very annoying, bitter, and ungodly to you. So I think these are some of the things we should be looking at, we should be talking about. Why do you want to tax us for cyber security? Taxation, as the banking industry tax you for every transaction, everything. Mr. Shalom, look at this.
You know, when you have a group of people who have not thought very well what to do with power, when they get it, it is inevitable that they misuse it. See, it is true that in other times, taxes are, the major ways government raises funds for its operations. But if you look carefully, you would see that things are working. The standard of living is high, education is affordable, healthcare, housing, and all those things are affordable. Even in those developed economies, education, what do you call it, healthcare, what have you, they are all subsidized. Electricity, everything is subsidized. It is not in a poor economy like our own, where poverty, the level of poverty is so high that people hardly get by. These are not the people you tax. What you provide is succor to the people. Let them survive first, then you can begin to tax them. So the main issue should be to revive the economy, get it functional so that people can live well and earn a living. Then you can tax that. But where people are hardly getting by, the minimum wage is laughable. It is nothing. It can't buy you a bag of rice, and you are taxing everything. Every transaction on your bank account, they tax. There is no place in the world where they collect card maintenance fee. What do you maintain a card for, ATM card for? How do you maintain an ATM card? You bank it. You rejig it every day. What do you do? Nothing. You issue a card and it does not expire until after 3-4 years. So we have banks that are not banks in the true sense of the word. They are just institutions that are ripping people off. Exactly. The central bank, the commercial banks, everywhere you turn, the ordinary man is under attack in Nigeria by the government and by institutions. And then I know it's itching to.
No, the conversation here is about is it appropriate that the government wants to overburden its citizens with much tax levies? But for me, I think if there is anything that may be deemed to be wrong with the Bola Tinubu administration, is perhaps pursuing macroeconomic policies that are idealistic. Whether you say it's the IMF prescribed political, economic intervention pills. But the problem actually, it's a developmental problem. I think it's an administration, that is seeking to do what governments in the past have failed to actually do. Because when you look at our tax revenues to GDP ratio, it still remains largely poor anywhere in the world. These advanced countries that we all talk about, if you look at their tax brackets to GDP, you see it. We're not even there. So, but developmental issues is that what we should have done, like we're still dealing with issues about welfare, people largely providing, making provisions for social amenities that government ought to have provided. Yes. So when you now implement an idealistic economic policy, it's like you just yoke them even harder. It becomes like, they can't breathe. Yes. But idealistically, I think that the administration's infrastructural projections, like the minister, of finance, Wale Edushi had used to. Yes, if we invest in infrastructures, we'll definitely attract foreign direct investment. If there's a problem, I'm coming. Let me land. The infrastructural gap, it's what has largely been the bane of us attracting foreign influence into our economy. Because when you look at the environment, just look at the road infrastructure still remains bad. Power also becomes, also very bad. We're still energy poor.
You made a very, very important point. You said it's idealistic.
It's idealistic.
Idealistic, but not practical.
Please.
Yes.
Look at Nigeria. What is it about Nigeria that can attract somebody from outside? Look, investors are looking for where they are the ones looking for where to put money so that they can get good returns. What is it? Is it kidnapping? Is it banditry? Is it bad infrastructure? Is it power? What is it? So how can you fix? You have not even fixed security or insecurity.
It's putting the cart before the horse,
Infrastructure is not
to claim that by just burdening your citizens, there will be investment.
Just provide bridges
as many
which is what I said, that the issues you're dealing with are developmental issues, that you're coming to put something on where.
So let us put the whole
because otherwise, if our priorities had been development, we ought to have gone past, our focus should be actually increasing our tax,
what is development if it does not improve the living conditions of the citizens? It is not development.
That's all right.
So development that is at the expense of the people is not development.
It has no practical application.
I agree. As much as we want to continue talking about this, I need to hold us here so that we can quickly go at a commercial break.
Welcome back to this interesting edition of Talking Point. We are talking about the age of darkness. We describe this era in Nigeria as an age of darkness because we are in a bleak moment where there is virtually no electricity anywhere. Small businesses and small-scale industries are being frustrated. Right now, in this part of the country, the Northeast, there has not been light for more than a month. Most people just get light for just some few minutes or hours in a day, and that's the situation in this country, and nationally that has been a recurring issue across all the geopolitical zones: lack of power. How can a country run without power? Shalom.
It cannot. That's the truth. It cannot. Unfortunately, this explains why we are where we are. In other times, they run a 24 hours economy. You come out at the point you want to go to bed, that's the point somebody is opening his business. And it runs through the night. Now look around you. Even during the daytime, not to talk of nighttime, nobody's doing anything. So it's not surprising that even for the few that are here, they are folding up. Multinationals are leaving Nigeria. They are fighting with the ones that are struggling to remain. Recently, I saw somebody took DSTV to court, multi-choice to court, because of the incessant tariff. And part of their challenge is the power that they have to provide for themselves. If you go by any of these telecommunication towers you see in town, they are running on generators. Most businesses are running on generators. So no, it is not possible for an economy to improve without power. So, but unfortunately, I don't know what has happened. right from the days of Obasanjo's first regime, when they established the yearly led committee and trillions went down that way. Nigerian leaders have found a conduit through power, and so much has gone down. If you put together, I have not bothered to do that, but if you put together the amount of money that has gone into the power sector, it is enough to build a brand new power sector for the country, a functional one.
Just even under Buhari, there was a time he gave a special intervention of over 1.5 trillion to just the power sector. And this is where we are today. And President Tinubu is appointing new people to govern
the same thing. I have no confidence.
I made about 5 appointments. Two of the people that were heading that list, the CEO and then the legal advisor of the company, they have been there since like 2013. They were the one that supervised the entire national grid collapses in the country. And in his opening remark, he said, because due to the importance of the power sector, that was why he reappointed them. That makes sense, that you reappointed some people that were there, supervising billions that have been sunk into that very particular economy, and you don't have light, and you reappointed them to bring light.
Well, this subject, you've rightly coined it as the age, Nigerians in the throes of the age of darkness. But what you call darkness, I call the era of aborted dreams, the era of disempowerment, the era of also missed opportunities. You know, we dropped the ball, you know, when with the unbundling of the power sector without proper due diligence, that those discos or the buyers of the unbundled entities would actually they're actually genuine investors, because what has been happening in the power sector is more of capital flight. That these discos are run by vested interests whose commitment, and that's why the government got it wrong. You know, of missed opportunities that many of them, most of these discos have been taken over by AMCON, because they got loans that they use in buying these discos, and because of their, you know, lack of altruistic disposition in doing the right things, they've ended up even filtering, filtering the assets, you know, of these companies. And at the end of the day, you can see even poor management from the discos, that such that they are not generating revenues. The growth trajectory for most of them, till today, you wonder if these entities were actually players in the power sector, because we've not seen any value. You understand? What they have just been doing is just managing the same infrastructure that they have on ground, and then even exploiting Nigerians by through estimated billions. You know, so you don't see any growth in that area. And what the government should have done was to wield the big stick. Now, even though I understand the current minister have also been making those threats that the government is likely to withdraw the licenses of many of these discos because of their failure, you know, in doing what should be. So the issue of power and energy is issues of national security. Wow. You know, that government itself should have paid close attention to ensure that, to get it right, because how the power sector plays out, if we remain largely power poor, actually have not even started the process of national industrialization, of self-actualization, and even reaching out.
So the even idea that we want to industrialize is simply wrong. So Jenkos, Discos, TCM. What is the meaning of those changes? What do they mean to you as a Nigerian?
Well, you see, like India alluded, most of the people who bought these companies that were unbundled, they're not players, they're not firms that are established generating electricity or in the industry as it should be. Most of them are former governors, politicians, people who just came into money. Exactly. And so the privatization, government itself is at fault to start with. How can you sell a company, an electricity generating company, to a politician? What will he do with it? Of course, he will build farm with the equipment like he's saying. Most of them, they will sack people, bring in their cronies. That is why you begin to see this code degenerate and fail even before long. They bring in people who are not competent because they are their relations and their friends and cronies and what have you, and then they sack people and then they will still want to make profit. So instead of reinvesting, they take from it. They want to recoup their money.
Well, I think we have to post in there to know. Now, before we go on break, Mr. Shadamba, I like you to understand that Nigerians are all grieving. We have been lending our voices to ensure that the government is held accountable on this kind of careless policies. I call them careless policies because they don't have Nigerians in perspective when they are making all these laws. Imagine the issue of the hike of tariff that they did on the 3rd of April. And then in their defense, the Minister for Power came out to tell us that there's nothing they can do about it. And then one of them is saying that they need like 3.2 trillion naira to reverse the subsidy of the hike because Bank A customers are eligible and they can pay, they have the money. For me, and that's why I feel it's a careless thing. So let me get your thought on that before we quickly go shortly.
Yeah, but they forget that Band A customers have options too. Band A customers are going solar. So they are leaving the band for them. Anybody that can afford it is going solar in Nigeria.
Yes.
So in the end, where will they make their money from? Even if you provide electricity for 24 hours, is that reason enough to charge 225 naira per unit? Certainly not.
About 300%
Exactly.
It's high.
There is no place where this happens, and unfortunately, we still keep going back to government. See, electricity, like Hindi said, is a national security issue. Electricity is not what you play with or you give individuals to play with. It is a critical infrastructure. The government protects that to ensure that everybody enjoys that, especially government facilities and institutions, and even the security cannot work without electricity.
When I hear this Band A, Band B, Band C, it rhymes with bandit. But to me, what I hear is it's like they are creating a caste system.
Yes,
it's like apartheid.
Apartheid and segregation.
The rich can have it.
Yes,
the poor cannot have it. And it's very, very absurd that in a country.
Imagine, they said Band A enjoys light for more than 20 hours a day. Band E.
So if you don't have it, you cannot have electricity. That's what
they mean.
Am I wrong?
No, funny enough, I stay in a community where I barely see light for 3 hours and 24 hours, and then I'm taught as Band A. So the first day I checked my sleep, I was like, are they really serious? Are they honest in this application of Band A and Band B? So we'll quickly go on a commercial break and we will be back. So let us know what you think about the hike in tariff and the policies that have been rolled out by Nigerian power sector in the country. Join us shortly.
Welcome back. This is Talking Point. If you're just joining us, we have been discussing on the topic we call the age of darkness, and one of our guests says it's an era of missed opportunities. you know. But we've been talking about the electricity tariff hike in Nigeria. I find it difficult to understand why you increase the cost of power that you have not yet provided, you know. And then we are in a country where most people are still struggling with the basic necessities of life, feeding, clothing, transportation, and these things have not been put in place. What is your take on this particular issue?
Well, the issues we're talking about shows you how important, you know, government is to the well-being and welfare of its citizens. But it is unfortunately, you know, in this part of the world, it appears that those who are privileged to be at the helms of power have taken, you know, the masses for a ride. Because obviously, you know, it still goes back to what we're saying. Even though the cost-reflective tariff, which the government appears to be pushing, and which is why the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has supported the withdrawal of subsidy, you know, may make some sense, you know, by the books. But what is the reality check is that, you know, it keeps the masses under groaning, you know. And for me, you know, despite even the cost of power, the problem also is that Nigerians don't even see the power. You know, we don't even see the power. You know, just recently in the Northeast, we've been out of power. You know, and then people will realize that even the same power provided by the discos appears even cheaper than alternative power supply. If you don't have renewable energy power generating that is sustainable,
yes.
That even the power provided by the discos appear to even be cheaper.
But not necessarily so, because the
no,
price
I'm saying yes. I'm saying that when you look at
it also increased by this.
I'm not saying that to say that the government is right. I have said that the government has often taken its people for granted. You know, I believe that our challenge in Nigeria is actually developmental, and I will keep saying this. It's a developmental challenge. Nigerians don't have any reason. If subsidy, government of Nigeria, if it had done what it ought to do, we should have been energy independent. Like every home should have been powered by gas. You can give homes, because we've been flaring the gas. We have huge, Nigeria is perhaps the third with huge natural gas deposit that we've been flaring. Imagine if every home was piped with gas, and then you have alternative source. Imagine if we have our thermal gas plant, who for some reasons don't even see this gas. Do you understand? So at the end of the day, you know, the subsidies that are being withdrawn in every system, where is the accounting system that makes sense? If you say you have subsidized, you need 3.2 million, I mean 3.2 trillion, you know, to make up the subsidy withdrawal. If you stop paying subsidies, let's say you withdraw subsidies, those monies, we assume that those monies have been saved.
Yes.
Where is the money going?
Where is it now?
Is it going to somewhere that would actually also ameliorate the suffering of the people? We don't see those money even going in investment that at the end of the day makes, you know, the living conditions of the average citizen even better. So at the end of the day, we have largely a developmental crisis.
Now when you
where
talk
the
about
leaders themselves are not accountable to the people, and then they don't even care whether the people sink or they float.
They float. Talking about accountability, Mr. Hindu, you just reminded me of the interim report of the EFCC recently when they released it March 2024. They said about 12.7 billion, I need to get the figures correctly, of the money meant for rural electrification, you know, has been siphoned. Not to talk about the about 12.4 billion COVID-19 fund that were disbursed, you know, twice, 6.2
for solar.
Just for solar. You know, this is just to it's crazy. When I was going through the figures yesterday, my head
you and I live in one of
understand?
the hottest part of this country.
I don't get it.
I have been thinking since we started, we conceptualized talking on this topic.
Yes.
What happened that in this country we have never thought of migrating to solar, especially in the
Let's
north?
go off grid.
We just get scorched by it, we get burnt by it, and we fail to utilize it for.
No, to be honest with you, I also, as a citizen, have been wondering that there is opportunity for cheap, renewable, sustainable
but they are not
energy
using it
in the northeast.
Yes.
That governments that we have had have never taken advantage of. You know, if we have the capacity to even just go solar power,
Completely.
energy source, but we have failed to do that. That's because we have leadership that are myopic, short-sighted, and not visionary. Yes. So our problem is actually largely a developmental, where you have a developmental crisis. You know, what do we do with political power? It appears like at the end of the day, our political leaders end up using political offices for personal self-aggrandizement and then empowerment of their own kids and kins and family and friends. So it's not actually for the overall good of the citizen, and that is where the problem is. Such that even if you have even if a particular economic intervention is the right path to go, like the cost-reflective tariff the government is talking about. You know, in our earlier conversations, this discourse, tell me, since their establishment, how many new have they metered the people?
No.
Have they metered the
It's
people?
impossible.
Right and then somehow it's like
when we were looking for personal meters at home,
they keep telling you energy theft.
it.
No, they keep telling you energy theft. But I say to them, if you think that the problem facing the discourse is energy theft, what you are simply telling me is that you have been you are lazy, because you can find these people when you meter them. You can trace these people who are stealing energy, you know, and then the laws are there to deal with them.
Yes.
So, but just because the business model for you is you do estimated billing and steal from the people that you can steal, you know, who also, for lack of enough awareness and knowledge, don't even know their rights, so they don't even complain to estimated billing. Then you find the high-pro communities where you meter them and run their stuff, but there is no commitment to growth of the industry. This is where the problem is. So what do you do when you are faced with these issues?
So right now, yes, like you said, the poor government, because she just mentioned multi-billion scams in the electricity industry. EFCC announced it. But you know, as long as the society is built around this kind of thing, nobody sees punishment. Nobody sees anybody held accountable for this kind of thing. At the end of the day, that's the end of the story. We just hear that they've arrested this person, and the money goes, the power goes, the project goes, nothing is recovered, nothing is implemented, and then the entire billion that was supposed to meant for power has vanished until another generation, another budget, another these things. And then we are trying to see how we can punish the citizens for small energy theft when the person died.
You know, unfortunately, this has characterized our national life. And I keep telling people, I say it, that yes, that is corruption. Do you understand? But beside corruption, that the individuals who hold power, do they have a humane and human feelings? You look at Nigeria or Africa and Latin countries, like even the Asian countries, you are not as corrupt as some of those countries. But largely they have a humane, you know, disposition. Like Argentina, Brazil, you have corruption there. But what they have done with their own corruption is that those monies that are corruptly amassed are invested back into the economy and it has a wealth regenerative influence. Look at the monies up till this day. We're still talking about loot from Abacha loot that has run into $4 billion and still counting. Those monies, imagine what $4 billion if invested in your economy. All we are asking today in Nigeria is to have $15 billion foreign direct investment into our economy for the next 10 years. And perhaps if it goes into infrastructure, we'll make a turnaround. No, so imagine the amount of money that was stolen in the 8 years of the Buhari presidency. If those monies, you understand, those monies were invested back into the economy. And I give you a very good example. They said Atiku Abubakar is corrupt. But we can see that because of his humane disposition, he has contributed to, he's a big player in the employment sector in Adamawa State. That wealth invested, reinvested in the Adamawa economy has contributed in improving the well-being and welfare of citizens. Now, imagine if we have politicians who have that humane nature and invest consciousness, we would have gone far past these things. So it comes down, we have a developmental crisis.
So going forward, Mr. Hindi, what do you think should be done in the Nigerian power sector?
The thing is, for now, there is no hard and fast solution. All we need is just one visionary leader who will live by personal example. We need personal example, that is selfless and committed to this idea we talked about, that the welfare, improving the welfare and security of citizens. Without that kind of disposition, we will still be running around in circles. Because every Nigerian wants to do things of life. Even these same people, who are privileged to live at the helms of our fair, when they go to Europe and other outside the shores of this country, they want the good things of life. But because they feel that there is not a collective consensus, the national consensus for development, so we need that, we need to start, somebody just has to start that process. And I know a majority of Nigerians, with participatory democracy, where the citizens engage in their own government with their voices, like when we have in the NSAS movement, we'll be able to get this right. And then lastly, what is important is that our politics, we must get it right politics by having the right people who have this kind of attributes I've talked about, all political offices. Except that happens, we must still be moving.
Thank you very much. Now, there you have it. We have been talking about the epileptic power supply in the Nigerian power sector. And Mr. Hindi has rightly told us all we need to fix this issue is to have a visionary leader at the helm of affairs in this country. Now, that's a wrap we have on this edition of the Talking Point. Until we come your way again with a fresh episode, my name is Nature Fix. Thanks for hearing us.
If you have been annoyed, angry about the current age of darkness we're going through in Nigeria, this is the time to speak out. Go to our social media handles on Facebook or YouTube channel, drop your comments. Let us know what you think about the darkness we're experiencing, the challenges everywhere you turn around in Nigeria. You get a form of generators. Everywhere, small businesses are struggling. People who used to run just small things are now faced with the challenge, the high cost of payments and all those kind of things. So drop your comments, let us know what you think about what is going on in this country and what all do you want to make to the government of this country in terms of fixing this very particular conundrum that we're being. Thank you, Mr. Hindi, for being here. Thank you for having an insightful comment. So, have a lovely time.